Hey, I'm dispensing with the preliminary welcome stuff. I just want to jump right into it. You see where I'm sitting. I've not moved since the end of the game. The Indiana Fever taking on the Connecticut Sun, obviously losing and being eliminated from playoff contention. I continued my post-game live right from here, and I haven't moved yet. I was just about to, and then I noticed that ESPN had comments to make about from Alyssa Thomas from Connecticut concerning Caitlin Clark's fans, concerning Fever fans. And then I did a little search on the internet to see what was being said. And I came across this. Well, I guess it's out there several places, but I chose to open up the article from the New York Post. And so I'm going to share a little bit of that, and then I'm going to weigh in, or I'm going to share a little bit, weigh in, share a little bit, weigh in. However we do it, let's just weigh in. So take a look. In an article entitled Suns, Alyssa Thomas furious over alleged racism coming from Fever fans, quote, no place for it. So after they get the win, they've got some things to say. So the article by Christian Arnold states, Alyssa Thomas, let me start here. Connecticut Sun players are speaking out over vitriol they say they faced this season, in particular from fans of Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever. Alyssa Thomas called out fans after the Sun defeated the Fever 87-81 in Game 2. Blah, 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 in the first round of the WNBA playoffs in a strong statement to reporters. And she says, I think in my 11-year career, I've never experienced the racial comments like from the Indiana Fever fan base. It's unacceptable, honestly, and there's no place for it. We've been professional throughout the whole thing. Oh, that's interesting. Everybody defines professional a different way, I suppose, but according to her definition, they've been professional throughout the whole entire thing. She said, but I've never been called the things I've been called on social media, and there's no place for it. Basketball is headed in a great direction, but we don't want fans that are going to degrade us and call us racial things. Okay. So again, they've been professional. She says they've handled it well. Basketball is headed in a great direction. The basketball is headed in a great direction because you have players like Caitlin Clark. Let's just be honest. But she goes on to say, but we don't want fans that are going to degrade us and call us racial things. How about you get off social media? Because people are people. And some people are trolling. Some people are not fans. She goes on to say, we already see what's happening in the world and what we have to deal with in that aspect. We come to play basketball for our job, and it's fun. But we don't want to go to work every day and have social media blown up over things like that. I'm going to stop here and say what I said before and what I said in the video that I put out yesterday. Turn off the social media. If you're professionals and you're adults and people are being mean, turn off social media. She said it's uncalled for and something needs to be done, whether it's them checking their fans or the league. There's no time for it anymore. All right. I may get back to that, but for now, I just got to stop and say this. There's something being said here. They waited till the season was over, and now they said what they wanted to say. You guys need to do something about it. We understand that they brought in fans, but we want nothing to do with Caitlin Clark and her fans. They are thrilled that Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever lost. When I say they, I'm not so sure it's not also the league. In spite of the fact that with that comes views, with that comes people in the stands, they waited, and now she's got a statement to make about the so-called racist fans. And Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever need to check their fans, need to get on social media, have a conversation with people out there. Or WNBA, you do something about it, because enough is enough. So as I said in the video I did yesterday, when I was commenting on the co-owner of the Atlanta Dream, Renee Montgomery, they want to attach random people on the internet with Caitlin Clark and expect her to take on these comments. And I'm also going to reiterate what I said yesterday, and that is that why aren't you calling out both sides? They were talking about the Atlanta Dream co-owner was talking about how Caitlin Clark's stands were so mean to Angel Reese, without any mention of what I've seen a whole lot of, and that is Angel Reese fans, so-called fans, because I'm not going to put that on Angel Reese either, but so-called fans who have been racist and made racist comments to not only white people and not only about Caitlin Clark, but to other Black people who dare support someone who's not the same skin shade. But they want to get rid of Caitlin Clark because she's not one of them, as Montgomery already told us. They're fans. They're not one of us. And by extension, they mean Caitlin Clark. I think this is the lowest of low. The Indiana Fever just lost this game. They're out of the playoffs after an amazing season, particularly by Caitlin Clark, an historic season. And you use this time to dog whistle the WNBA, to get rid of Caitlin Clark, and to get rid of whom you're calling her fans. Like I said, I just been sitting here. I still have my props out. Still got my props out from the live. But this I find to be unbelievable, that you are so immature and unprofessional that you cannot see past the fact that people get on social media and say whatever they want to say. I have spent this season conversing with Indiana Fever fans, and by and huge large, ain't nobody spewing nothing racist. You're gonna find your loose cannon out there, but for the most part, people are just enjoying basketball, and some coming back to basketball, some coming for the first time, just playing basketball, like Caitlin just wants to play basketball. But you sit up there and you try to really attack Caitlin Clark. That's really what you're doing here. I see through it. And you waited till now when they're out of the playoff to make your little pitch that you don't want. I told you guys from the beginning, these people would rather lose big picture. They don't care about the stands being filled. They don't care about the eyeballs. They don't care about any. They feel like this is their league, and you can figure out who there are. They feel like this is their league. They're not mature enough to turn away from social media. They're not mature enough to understand that you're going to have people who are going to say all kinds of stuff, and they're not attached to Caitlin Clark. They're people pressing buttons and people being people. Just as people who purport to be Angel Reese fans do the same thing in the vilest of ways, and I've seen it and experienced it. So this, I think, is low. You win the series, and then you run your mouth and say, we really don't want Caitlin Clark and her fans. Her fans. Let's go back to the article. The article went on to say, Thomas, who scored 19 points and recorded 13 assists as the Sun completed a two-game sweep, has not been the first WNBA player to call out fans of the Fever or of Clark over inappropriate comments. Earlier this summer, Angel Reese said during her podcast that Clark fans have sent her death threats and made racist comments toward her while making sure to absolve Clark of any responsibility for what her fans have said and done. When you put her in there with some random fans, random people on social media, you're putting her name in it. Why are you? This is the thing. Angel Reese doing her podcast when she should have been working on layups came out and said this. And then the Atlanta Dream person, and then now Alyssa Thomas, and it's all attached to Caitlin Clark's name. While making sure to absolve Clark of any responsibility, then why are you mentioning her? And what about you mentioning and calling out those people who just love you? Ex-WNBA player, there it is, Renee Montgomery spoke out against some of the, quote, vicious Clark fans that have attacked other players. I'm speaking on a particular group that is motivated by hate and destruction. And if it's not you, then this is not about you. But you keep putting Caitlin Clark's name in it. It doesn't even seem like it's about Caitlin with the stands. They're just on social media ready to fight. Let me tell you, it's social media. They're not fighting you. They're obviously just in your head. Anyway, the WNBA's newfound popularity, which came with the arrival of Clark into the league, has created a boon for TV ratings, but also created an influx of negative comments. Clark has found herself in the center of negative comments and over-the-top criticism at times. A fan was briefly removed from his seat during Wednesday night's game by something he appeared to say to Clark during the game. Yeah, now, where was Alyssa Thomas's comment about that? Here's my thing. Caitlin Clark, I guarantee you, would not come up to the podium and attach any of those players' names to whatever that fan said, quote unquote fan said. But they're professional. And the league, by the way, which had no comment about Caitlin Clark getting clawed in the eyeball, and no comment about a whole lot of stuff that she took during this season, decided to put out a statement late Wednesday night condemning racist and derogatory language. But it has been criticized for the way it's handled the issue for most of the season. First of all, let me say what I said yesterday. If anyone is making racist comments, it's unacceptable. Death threats, unacceptable. Those things are unacceptable. But I also know enough, because I've seen enough and I've experienced enough to know that for some people, any criticism you get, if you criticize Angel Reese, you're racist. If you criticize Alyssa Thomas, you're racist. Every critical comment, every critique is racism. Even Angel Reese, when she made her comment, she said, I feel like there's a racial element to it. Did you give us an example of why you feel that way? Because we're not responsible for how you feel. And again, I'm not saying that some of that has not gone on, because I've seen some of it. I've seen a whole lot more from people who say they're Angel Reese's fans, but I've seen some of it, and none of it is acceptable. But you're a professional. You're not going to get out there and dictate to random fans what they're supposed to say. You wanted more eyes on the league. You wanted to grow the game. With the good comes the bad, but we got to see you at the table while you, after you win the series, try to attach Caitlin Clark's name to whoever is out there saying whatever you say they're saying. But you got nothing to say about what happened toward Caitlin Clark. Anyway, the league said the WNBA is a competitive league with some of the most elite athletes in the world. While we welcome a growing fan base, the WNBA will not tolerate racist, derogatory, or threatening comments made about players, teams, and anyone affiliated with the league. How are you going to stop that on social media? League security is actively monitoring threat-related activity and will work directly with teams and arenas to take appropriate measures to include involving law enforcement as necessary. Okay. I'll get back to that. Let's just finish this. Fever coach Christy Sides also blasted the actions of some fans. A lot of hurtful, hateful speech out there that's happening, and it's unacceptable. Sides said in her post-game remarks, it's unacceptable for any of these guys, any of them. Now, I didn't see her comments, but I hope when she said any of these guys, she pointed out, I am not taking responsibility for what some other person said. And this league saying you will not tolerate it in the arena, legal. Yeah, exactly. And that's what happened to Caitlin Clark. So I don't know what was said to Caitlin Clark by this guy, but are we going to be talking about that too, league? Are we going to be pointing that out, Christy Sides? None of these players, Caitlin Clark, Kelsey Mitchell, Aaliyah Boston, Lexi Hall, Tammy Fagbenley, anybody, nobody is out there having people say anything. Why do they constantly want to throw Caitlin Clark's name in there as if it's her fault with somebody acting stupid? And why aren't we calling out both sides? And why are we ending this season for the Fever? Why is the Connecticut Sun going on to the next step by saying, yeah, we're glad you're here, but we'd rather you not be here? If your fans, if you cannot check your fans, check my fans. What do you want me to do? Call out your fans. Listen, I'm here to play basketball. I'm not here to babysit people. It's just ridiculous. This league gets whatever it gets and doesn't deserve whatever it doesn't get that it should get. I will say again, I am not in favor of anybody being racist, sexualizing, threatening, any of that. And so if you're going to call it out on both sides. But I also know that you cannot police the world. And you use this opportunity to say what you've been wanting to say all season, and that is you'd rather not have Caitlin Clark in the league. You'd rather go back to basic obscurity. And I told y'all about that. I told you that's how they felt at the beginning of the season, before the season even began. They'd rather lose big picture as long as Caitlin Clark wasn't at the center of it. They want her gone. I said it. They want her gone. You can chop it up in the comments. I'll catch you next time, God willing. God bless you abundantly.